Have you failed at anything in your life? Great, then this podcast is for you. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Elevate from Failure podcast. I'm your host, Jan Smith, the owner of Brody Blog. We are a marketing agency. I am here with Cheri, who is a longtime educator. She has incredible experience, and we have a lot to talk about in regards to ADHD. I am an ADHDer. I was late diagnosed. I've been diagnosed for 3 years. But I went through most of my life just thinking I was, there's something wrong with me. I was struggling to pay attention in school. I was a doodler in school, and I kind of overcompensated by being this high achieving type of person. But we're so happy to have Cheri on with us because neurodivergence is something that that I'm passionate about, and something that we talk about a lot on this show. So welcome, Cheri.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here and very excited to share my journey and hopefully help someone who is navigating these waters as well.
Yes. Yeah, I'm so excited to talk about this. So Cheri, please share with us your background, where you are based, and where people can find you.
Absolutely. So I came to Houston after college in 1995 and started teaching on the east side of the city in a pretty diverse community. I taught third, fourth, and fifth grade. I loved every minute of it. I knew I was going to be a teacher when I was 6 years old, so I never thought I would leave the classroom. However, there were people that had different plans for me. And about 5 years into my journey, my principal called me down one day and said, "Hey, congratulations. We're taking you out of the classroom. We're going to prepare you to become one of our future principals." And I thought, oh, no, that's not for me. But knowing that I'm a very high achiever as well, I sat back and kind of breathed for a minute and then realized that that was exactly where I wanted to go. And once I took on my first school a few years after that, I realized that had become a turnaround principal without even knowing it. I had been asked to come in and fix a school where I actually was the assistant principal the year prior, and the school was failing. And we were in jeopardy of the Texas Education Agency coming in and taking over. And I really had to do a lot of work with building capacity in our staff, within the community, and within the students. And so I did that with three schools, two different districts in Houston and one in Iowa as well, which is where I'm from originally. And I noticed these patterns that a lot of the schools that I was assigned to were schools that were very diverse, very low socioeconomics, and a lot of students that either were referred to special education or on the brink of being referred. And stepping back and looking into everything that was going on, I also found that there was a mindset in my teachers prior to me getting there that really made them believe that all of these little things about students were hurdles that were keeping them from being high performers, meaning the teachers being high performers. And it became almost a blame game instead of okay, how do we navigate through this and how do we get better? And so it took a lot of work, but after 16 years in the principal's seat, I think I did a pretty good job at each of the three schools, because not only did we turn the school around and the schools are thriving, but also we were able to really change the mindset of the teachers that worked for me. And now they have gone on to do things that are even bigger and better than what they were doing before. In the process of all of that, my daughter ended up getting married, and her husband, he worked for me actually for about a year, but
Yeah,
yeah, yeah. So very weird story, but he is also very ADHD. And just watching him and all of the things about him when they first met, I just realized, okay, that's me too. I am somebody that I'm multi-passionate. I start a lot of things and don't always finish them. And I find myself always trying to revamp my organizational strategies for myself, because it might work for one day, but not going to work tomorrow. And it made me realize too that our little people that I've been working with for so many years, that's what they're feeling on the inside. And I don't see it as a hindrance, but more as a gift.
Oh, that is beautiful, because I don't know, like when I was diagnosed, at first I was like, you know what, this is not a disability. This is a superpower and I'm going to treat it like that. But recently I've just it's been really tough. Like even with this podcast, which has been awesome as we kind of got a glimpse of today, like it's been a blessing, but I've it's forced me to completely to look at my calendar, my organizational skills, my punctuality, and like it's brought it to light in a good way, but then like it's been really tough. Much harder than a neurotypical person. So I'm so glad we're talking about this, and it's actually kind of fitting that we are. But yeah, I want to talk about the differences, maybe of this might be kind of a little question, but um, like neurodivergence from, let's just say, like kind of an affluent school or community versus a kind of lower socioeconomic,
Mhm.
potentially more diverse, and then also ADHD differences between young girls and young boys, like in general.
I love those two questions. Absolutely, really had an interesting step along my career. When I first became an assistant principal, the district that I was working in, they just were not looking for my profile. And so I actually left that district and went to a very affluent district on the northeast side of Houston. And it was interesting because it was almost as if a student stood out more if they were experiencing some of these tendencies, and it was more of a taboo. I was working with one family and the student was really struggling, and I could see that he was struggling. He was a third grader, and he was now at a point where he was starting to realize I'm not like everybody else,
Mhm.
and this is not okay. And when he would have a meltdown, like it lasted the whole day. He could never get himself back on track to get back in the classroom. And talking with the family, the mom ended up just coming out to me and saying, you know what, this is something that we're not accepting in our family. And I get the part of not accepting, to the fact of I'm not accepting that my child has to be different and that my child cannot be successful. But this was more of a I'm not accepting this, and I'm not accepting the help to go with it.
Oh gosh.
And if I compare that to the other schools that I was a school leader in, it was just a different feeling. It was almost as an expectation,
Oh.
almost as if, okay, let me get this help. And sadly, even well, my child isn't learning, so there must be something wrong with them kind of a mentality.
Mm.
And so working and navigating through that was very challenging because I don't want any of my students that are in my care to think, oh, I have this disability or this diagnosis. So that means I'm different. And so that means I can't really learn. And so that means I don't really have to try.
Mm. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if anybody you've spoken to or if that was any of your experience as well.
Yeah, I think it can be like a crutch sort of thing.
Mhm.
Um but I can definitely see that. And that's kind of sad, and yeah, that's kind of sad in a way that that there are like some parents who like maybe they don't want to accept that the kid is different. But yeah, neurodivergence and ADHD, I think in particular, is more common that we think, isn't it? Like 60% of us
Mhm.
have
Mhm.
ADHD,
Yeah.
which is
And
wild.
it's
Yeah.
You saying that, it's really interesting as well because when I first started to step into these roles, it was like back in the early 2000s. 2003 is when I took on my first assistant principal job in this more affluent district. And I do believe that over the last 5 years, even people have become more understanding and more open to the different diagnoses, because even with the neurodivergence, when you think about autism, I'm part of a couple of projects working on that, perspective as well. And it was so taboo back in 2005, 2006, where
Wasn't that
still
long
it's very
ago? Like
confusing.
it's not even,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Oh my God.
So I think it's just as we evolve as people, right, and get more knowledge, I think we get more open. But I still see that there are so many students struggling because either a parent, and I'm not a big medication kind of person,
Neither am
so
I.
I get that part too, but parents, well, I'm not putting my child on medication. Okay, but let's work on some strategies to help your child be successful because they have it in them.
Yeah. Yeah, so really quickly, or take your time, what are the kind of general differences between ADHD and young girls and young boys? Is it the
Mhm,
stereotype of the boys jumping off the walls and the girls kind of like doodling as I did when I was a kid?
mhm, mhm, mhm. Right. And it's such a big thing to talk about because you're right. Little boys have a lot of energy,
Mm,
and sometimes it's almost expected for boys to have a lot of energy. I know with my son-in-law, I know his parents very well, right? And we've talked about this before, and both of our children are only children.
mm,
And they have shared with me that, they just couldn't figure it out because he would come home from school all day and he played sports
mhm,
and they would think he would be tired. But instead, he would just be going, 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 going until he would crash.
mhm,
And then with girls, like I know for me, I'm a go, go, go. I do a lot of things and I get into a lot of things. And I see our little girls in school as well. But sometimes it is more like what you said, it's the doodling, it's the not paying attention.
mhm,
But again, we can also have some students that are a little more severe on the whole spectrum of it,
mhm.
where they're going to do the outbursts and the messiness. I think that's a lot of it is the organizational processes that I see. I remember a teacher saying to me when I first became a teacher, "Oh, like that little Charlie Brown cartoon, the pig pen, that's him or that's her." And I would just look at the teacher thinking, okay, number one, that was just so mean, but number two,
Mhm.
it made me think like, yeah, there's this almost this aura of chaos,
Mhm.
around them. And it just shows up different with boys and girls. Boys are not as um, they don't like to hide it as much, right? They don't care about it, especially
Yeah, and they're like almost encouraged to like blah,
yeah, yeah. But girls,
we're
we're
like encouraged
supposed
to
to
like
be
be
prim,
seen. Yeah.
yep, prim, proper, dainty, all the things.
Mhm,
And so we get really good at masking it.
mhm,
I remember because my daughter, I believe too, is has a lot of the tendencies. But I
mhm,
remember she was going into middle school and we had just built a new house and she had this really large closet. And I said to my ex-husband, I'm going to go up and just check that she cleaned her room this week because, middle school kids, they don't like to clean. They don't like
Are
to
the
keep up
worst.
with
Yeah.
things. And so I'm up there and the room was just beautifully cleaned. And I go, wow, you sure did a great job. And she's like, thanks, Mom.
What
So
was
I
she
look under the
avoiding?
bed. Yeah, yeah. I look under the bed and no reaction from her. And I'm looking her bathroom and bathroom spotless. And I open the closet, get over to the closet. And she goes, Mom, don't go in the closet. And I was like, oh, why not? And she goes, well, I still have to organize the closet a little bit. So I open the closet and literally things just come tumbling out. So I get back downstairs and I tell my ex-husband that, and he's like, hello, she is your child. And I open a drawer that we had in the kitchen and I'm like, what? What are you talking about? And then I see the drawer and I'm like, oh, yeah. And things were just like piled in there because out of sight, out of mind, right?
Yeah, it's in the
Yeah.
ether. Yeah.
Yep. Yep.
Well, I think that your story is a good success story to tell people, maybe like to parents or even to maybe people like me who are late diagnosed, that like you can be successful, you can do incredible things in these communities, you can be that beacon and be neurodivergent. So like you can be successful and have ADHD. Um, so yeah, so I think that's wonderful. So what are the things that work for you as an adult? Is it kind of having that awareness and like cycling back, just like being like, "Well, you know what, I'm going to cycle back to this," or do you have a specific thing for organization?
Yeah, so I'm glad you asked that because the ironic thing is I teach other educators and school leaders how to get their life managed, right? Their time and all of that managed, which is so ironic. But it wasn't always easy for me. I realized, after years of waking up in the middle of the night and just continually processing things, like they wouldn't stop. So if
Mm,
I woke up at 2 a.m. to go to the restroom, my night was over. I just should just get up and start working because now my brain was starting to shuffle through all of the things I would forget.
mm,
Or I would be getting ready the next morning to get us out the door to go to school. And then I would get distracted by something that was going on, on the TV or something. Oh, I forgot to do this last night. And then I start doing that. And then I'd realize, oh, I'm going to be running late. And I don't like to be late because, again, I like to hide, especially when I was younger, that I had any kind of flaws at all.
mm,
And so I had to learn, number one, that I had to accept me for who I am. I
mhm,
think that was one of the biggest things. And I had to give myself some grace. I was a perfectionist for years and years and years. And I was just grinding myself to the limit and making everybody else around me miserable as well, because my perfectionist tendencies were causing me to just, okay, let me change this and let me fix this and let me work harder and hustle more and do all these things. But it wasn't fixing it. And then it was just backfiring on me.
mhm,
So once I learned to give myself grace and accept me for who I am,
mhm,
I also made a point to tell people, especially my closest people. So I transitioned from another state to come here. We came without any family. It was just the three of us. And then after getting divorced, and it was just my daughter and I, we rely on friends. They become your family when you transplant. And I needed them to just know this is who I am. And I get it if it makes you crazy and you don't want to be somebody around me. However, these are my needs. I'm not going to ever put it back on you, but I'm also going to be very, very clear. If something isn't working for me, I'm going to share that. And, I lost some friends because of that, or not necessarily lost friends, but lost people that wanted to be around me at the time. And that was okay because when I stepped back to realize it, maybe they were people that were feeding into my um just my go-go tendencies and not paying attention to things. And then I had to really find something that seemed to work for me
mm,
and then hold myself accountable to use it. So I do blocking when I work on my business or when I'm working
mm,
on anything for school. If it's going to take me an hour, I give myself an hour and I put my devices away and I turn off everything else. And I live alone now. But even when I had my dog passed not too long ago, when my dog was still
sorry.
alive, I'd even have to, okay, you're going to stay here or you're going to go out here in the living room because I need to stay focused.
Mm,
And I do a lot of checklists. So, okay, this is done, check it off. And then I give myself a break. So
mm,
every hour that I would work, I would give myself a 10-minute break and then go back to work for an hour and give myself a 10-minute break and make sure I check things off so I could see that the work I was doing was actually helping me progress through my day. Those
mm.
are just a few things that I implement into my world, but I also make sure that when I go to sleep at night, because I'm not a great sleeper.
If you're an entrepreneur, you can do a lot on your own. But with a reliable team on your side, you can go even farther. I'm the owner of Brody Blog, and we are a full service marketing team. Whether it's increasing sales for your business or making sense of the analytics from Instagram, Facebook, and so on, we can help grow your business, therapy practice, or charity by developing a strategy with the media channels that align with your highest goals. Whether you want to take your business to new heights or have a passion project that you want to transition into a business, having the right team will help you to reach your goals while actually saving you money. For a complimentary consultation, send us an email at this address and follow us on these social channels. Thank you for tuning in to the Elevate from Failure podcast. Now, here is the rest of this episode.
My all my notifications are turned off on my phone. The
Tough one.
TV remote control is put off to the side because when I wake up, I'm going to start going down these rabbit holes.
Mhm. Yeah, those are great tips. And I do like the blocking and the break after the 1 hour. I will definitely try that. I kind of want to go a little bit back into what ADHD looks like as a kid, but also
Mhm.
this can mean what it is like as an adult.
Mhm.
I just saw on the meme that ADHDers don't like small talk, and I, for one, um, I like sometimes I feel like awkward when I talk to people just because like we have a tendency to interrupt or to like bring up something that concerns us. Like, and we're not trying to be selfish. It's just like we just want to like relate to people and like yeah. So
Mhm.
so is there like a reason kind of that we are kind of that we don't like small talk, that we're a little bit awkward, and which can make making friends both as a kid and as an adult really difficult or like horrible?
Well, I'm not going to ever tell you that I'm an expert in any of this. It's just from my own experiences. But what I have noticed, especially in children, you're absolutely right. And I think a lot of times our brains are running so quickly, right? And we
Yeah.
are so easily distracted. I think the small thing, talk thing, and from what I've heard from students, it's hard to attain to the conversations, especially when they're verbal.
Mhm.
When I know for myself, even as a kid, if there was a picture or a visual that I could use to go with what people were saying, it was a lot better. And I also noticed, especially when I was a kid, we didn't have cell phones and we didn't have texting and we didn't have all that. I'm about to be 55, so I've been around for a long time. We had telephones, and I would get on the telephone with my friends in the evening, and they would be talking, and I would say all the time, "What? What did you say? Can you say that again?" And they would just be like, "Girl, listen." And I would be like, "I'm listening." And my even my parents would say stuff like that. They'd be like, "Hey, you're not paying attention to what I'm telling you." And in
Mhm.
my head, I was hearing what they were saying and I was trying to process it.
Mhm.
But to them, the visual that I was giving to them, the perception they had was that I was just totally ignoring them or just not paying attention. And I
Mhm.
think that that happens a lot for children too, especially in the classroom.
Mhm.
So if a teacher is just continually talking and talking and talking without any kind of visual or break or time to move around, we're going to tune it out. It's
Mhm.
going to be hard to take it all in, or we're going to hear the things that we can process
Mhm.
quickly. And then the things that are a little more abstract, it's going to be like, okay, I'll try to catch up later. I kind of think, mimic it to a struggling reader. They might be able to read every 3 words, and
Mhm.
then the next two, they might not even know what those words are. So they just skip them and try to still make meaning of text. And I think
Mhm.
that happens a lot with verbal conversations.
Mhm.
And you're absolutely right. That interruption thing, that's a real thing. And it's not because we are trying to be rude. It's
Yeah.
because we want to get our thought out. We don't want to forget it,
We'll
right? We
forget,
don't
yeah,
want
we'll
to
forget it like 2 seconds or a minute later, whatever.
absolutely. And I still find myself, and I'm a professional woman, right? And I still find myself, I'll have to say sometimes, oh, wait, never mind. Let me stop. Finish your thought and then I'll speak.
Ah, it's
And
a
so
good one. That's a
yeah, I'll take like notes or something just so I don't forget what I want to say.
Mhm.
Um, because it is hard. And then there are times, just like you said, I just avoid conversations altogether because it's like, okay, this one's going to be a tough conversation. And if I can't get my thought out when I need to get it out, I'm just going to stay quiet. I'll listen, but I'm just not going to contribute. And so if you think about our students in school,
Mhm.
think about what that does to a teacher when they don't understand.
Mhm.
The whole perception is you're being defiant, you're not engaged,
F, here
you
you
don't
go.
care. Uh-huh, yeah.
Yeah.
And then
Totally.
if they are a doodler or
Mhm.
they are messy, then it's a whole, this kid just can't. And
Mhm.
it's getting teachers to understand, yes, they can. We just have to give them the strategies to help them process through it.
Yeah. Oh, I just had a really good one. And then the sink went out. And then there goes my
Squirrel.
thought.
You're like, yeah, yeah, absolutely.
What was it? Okay, I'll get back to that. But yeah, so are ADHDers and kids, adults with autism, like are we actually geniuses, do you think? Like if
I
the
like
world
that
were
question.
structured for us,
Uh-huh.
Like,
Uh-huh. I do think, I think that anybody can be on the genius side, right? Because it's about IQ. But I do think that sometimes we see people with some of these other neurodivergent tendencies be a little more hyper focused on things too, which is something that people don't really understand because, especially if we're talking ADHD, well, they can't pay attention to anything. How can they hyper focus on this? Well, it's because it creates meaning for them. There's
mhm.
something that connects to them. But I do like that thought, and I can't tell you from the spectrum of a brain specialist or anything, but it isn't an interesting question, right? How many times do you see some of these kids that they're just everywhere, but they always know the answer?
Yeah.
Or people on the spectrum, especially high functioning, they know a lot of things and a lot of facts. And it's a rule, then it's always going to be a rule and it will apply to everything within that realm.
Mhm.
So I like that question. I can't say I have a definitive answer, but I can say that's a good one.
Awesome. Yeah, I think because we can come up with solutions and ideas that I think neurotypicals maybe can't, or like we're just 3 steps ahead of their thinking. So I think, hello, did I lose you?
No, well, I'm here. Can you see me? I don't know.
Uh,
I think my internet's being weird today.
no, it's okay. We're
I think,
across this, we're across seas, so something's bound.
oh, that could be it.
But yeah, there goes my thought again.
No,
Yeah.
you were saying about how it's interesting that sometimes we can be a little more creative.
Yeah, like yeah. So
Yeah.
I think a lot of us can have like genius moments at the very least,
Mhm.
of like coming up with ideas that many people might not have even thought of. Um,
Mhm.
so I also want to kind of talk about the phenomenon of like delaying things. So I notice myself doing this. Like I will see messages or emails, which in theory could take 5 minutes to respond to, even just like, hey, like I know you exist. I'm so overwhelmed. Give me like a day. But like I will procrastinate in like responding to people, doing things for like at least 2 days sometimes. But like I see it, but like to actually respond, it's difficult for me to do that. So, can you kind of explain why that is, and um, both from the adult side and the child side?
Sure. I mean, I can attempt to do so, but I do the same thing. And so many of the kids that I have worked with over the years do the same thing as well. And I think a lot of it is getting started on things, right? It's that whole, do I, and my thoughts and feelings, and again, I'm going to preface with I'm not an expert.
Mm,
However, the thoughts that always come to me is, do I really know how to do this in my head?
mm,
Do I really have the answer to that yet? Am I sure? So it's maybe this unsureness of how I want to respond or how I want to do it, and then something will get in the way.
mm,
Or, and I've seen this with kids a lot too, the overwhelmingness of that task. So a text message, sure, that's going to be an easy thing to do, but what if it's a project?
mm,
Now I'm unsure. Do I really know what I'm doing? I've
mm,
already been in a situation in my school history where teachers think this about me, or my grades have been low because I forget to turn things in, or whatever it is. And
mm,
now this is a big task. Do I know how to manage my time to actually get it done?
mm,
I wonder though, with the text message, and you tell me your thoughts, I wonder sometimes responding to a message or calling somebody, that's a commitment type of thing too,
mm.
right?
Yeah, I'm a bit of a committophobe. Is
Uh-huh, me too. And it makes
that
me
an
wonder,
ADHD thing too?
I don't know, but if it is, could it be, okay, if I respond to this person, now I have to commit to the conversation.
Yeah.
I don't know. Something to think about for sure.
Wow. Okay.
I should have been like a brain scientist, right?
I feel like you can be, and like you can be without like having the PhD or whatever. Like you can know a lot of things in
I,
general without the
yeah,
title. That's my theory.
yeah, I agree for sure.
Um, man, my thoughts just keep woo.
We're talking about a lot of good things here, though. This is deep. This is pretty good.
Um, God, I had a really good one too. Hmm. Okay, so
Yeah. Oh, okay, go ahead.
yeah, so what needs to be done kind of at the youth level? Is it like more of you, like more people who are educating teachers and how to like accept and handle kids with ADHD and autism as well. Does there need to be more funding? I think, of course, duh.
Mhm.
But yeah, basically, what needs to be done at the school level to kind of make this less of a stigma?
I think for sure, you're hitting everything on the head with that. We do need to have better training for our people. When I got out of college, I actually went on a traditional route through college. So I went through the teacher educator program. I changed my major once in school, but I started in PE, physical education, and then went to elementary education. So it wasn't a big adjustment. I went through student teaching. I actually had great mentors through my student teaching experience, but I get to Houston and I'm in a classroom in the real world, and nobody told me about ADHD.
Mm,
Nobody told me about autism. I have a brother with dyslexia, but otherwise, everybody else in my family were just, I mean, who knows? Maybe we were undiagnosed, but we're just typical people, right? Or at least what we thought was typical. And so I get in my classroom, and my classroom was interesting my first year. It was designed for somebody. I was supposed to come in and teach a different grade level, but they had a last minute resignation, and I had a background in mathematics. So they asked me to move into this role. And the class was designed for this more experienced teacher that left.
mm,
So it was made up of students that were in some kind of special program. There was not one general ed student in the classroom. So there were students with IEPs or in special education. There were students who were second language learners. There were students that were in the gifted and talented program. And that was the makeup of the classroom.
mm,
And so here I'm coming in from small town Iowa with thinking that I know everything that I'm supposed to know, but
mm,
nobody talked to me about all of these other things. Nobody taught me that.
mm,
And my first year it was a big challenge. And I almost quit over it. I almost said, no, I'll go back home. I'll figure something out. I'll open a daycare or something. And luckily, I started to see these patterns and started to connect with some of these students to start to realize, well, maybe what if we adjust this or what if we try this? And it made a huge difference for these kids.
mm,
But I also know when I would take over the schools, as I was mentioning, even though my teachers were certified, they might not have had this training as well or this understanding. And I think that's part of it too. You can't just have book smarts, you have to have that empathy too, right? The emotional intelligence. But now we are in a crisis, at
sorry.
least in hi, kitty cat. Um, in Texas, we are hiring. Here she is, her whole body. Non-certified teachers.
Sorry.
No, no worries.
No,
We're
thank
hiring non-certified teachers who have had no training
you.
because we don't have enough certified teachers to fill these roles. And I know it's starting to become a trend in the whole United States. I don't know if it's something that you're experiencing where you are, but now we don't even have teacher pedagogy, let alone strategies for working with kids with different needs. So I do think training definitely is going to be important and making sure the school leader is trained because
Ooh.
yeah, my teachers
Yeah.
only got this because I understood it. What if the school leader doesn't?
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. I think the leaders they should know it, like for the sake of the students and the parents, but also like the trickle down effect into to lead by example, then
Mhm.
everyone else will care, to be honest. Will like be like,
Yeah.
okay, like we should know this and this is helpful.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I think in Scotland, like yeah, like it is difficult for the teachers, and I think like just more resources would be helpful. So yeah, I think it's we're on the same boat in terms of that. Um, but yeah, I think that hopefully with time and maybe with like more, I don't know, online resources, like if we can kind of learn from each other regardless of where we are, in the school systems and of course as adults, I think that over time, um, it'll just help. Like we will all be more accepting of neurodivergent kids and people in the workforce and even among peers. But I also think it definitely like we need to remind ourselves, and I definitely need to do this, that like again and again that I may be different, but that's totally fine, and that's how it is, and that's the kind of a beautiful thing. So I'm so glad to have you on the show, Cheri. And yeah,
Absolutely.
Boo made an appearance, so yeah, good vibes all around. But thank you so much. And really quick to kind of finish up this episode, do you have a quick tip for parents with kids with ADHD who kind of just found out the news? And again, everyone, all of Cheri's info will be in the description box below. But yes, Cheri, do you have one quick last tip?
Absolutely. I would definitely say number one, be a mama, be a daddy, love your kid, because everything about them is what makes them unique, right? And it makes them a human that is going to go out and affect somebody else in life and affect themselves. But I think sometimes when kids just continually have everybody against them, those are the kids that are going to give up. They're going to disengage. They're not going to care. And, it is just what it is. And, I'll get through school and I'll just go on. But I will say this, parents also partner with your schools, and schools partner with your parents. This is so important. I have a tutoring business as well, and I tutor a fifth grader right now who has extreme ADHD. And if I tutor him during the week, he's on his medication. But today we had to move a session, and I actually tutored him this morning. And on days that he takes his medication, we work for an hour, and I get a good 45 to 50 minutes of instructional time, right?